Good evening, everyone.
Green light. Go, go, go.
Situated in South Africa, the Kyalami race circuit has got a storied history. From the Formula One days back in the 1970s and 60s, right the way through to the fact that where it's situated in Gauteng, otherwise known as the Place of Gold, shows that South Africa has got a rich and glorious history. But tonight, only one driver can make history for the final race of the season here with ACC Race Nation. I'm Jack Mountain, your commentator as always through this season, and we are at the final round of the championship at this absolutely fantabulous circuit. We've got 22 drivers in racing this evening, and ahead of us we have a 2-hour day-night race. It's going to be a lot of action. It's a circuit that certainly promotes a lot of opportunities for brave overtakes. And in addition to brave overtakes, it also promotes the opportunity for mistakes. It's still a classic circuit. It's still got runoff, but it's got grass. It's got a little bit of astro, bits of sand as well. So the drivers have to be very fleet-footed around this fabulous circuit in South Africa. We're 3 minutes into the session so far. A lap around here does take quite a bit of time. We're following the BMW with Martin van Reenen. He just exiting what will be, of course, turn number 10 and 11 effectively. Turn 11 is here. We'll ride on board. Well, we'll follow the BMW driver as he approaches turn 12. But we do have a championship fight on our hands. It isn't going to be as straightforward as you might think in terms of the driver's standing. So let's run through those for you now. So Stuart Packham has the advantage. Let's cut back to the British driver. Where is he out on circuit? That's Miroslav Grasic hitting the wall. That wasn't ideal for him. Let's just see if we can find John Wells. We'll get to him eventually. Not John Wells, sorry, Stuart Packham. There he is, our championship leader. In that M4, he's got a 11-point lead over Josip Kosic. So Packham sits on 223 points. Kosic is second on 212. Daniel Danu is third on 211. Realistically, as Packham goes sideways out of the final corner, realistically those three are in the true championship hunt. Still not completely over though, because Jordan Harding is fourth on 203 points. He's 20 points back. Reigning champion Steve Hall, unless a miracle comes his way, looks like the championship will be going away from the Ferrari driver's hands. He's on 198 points. Tony Sokolov is 6th on 189. Mark Chapman is 7th on 188. 8th is Dennis Penders on 161. He's mathematically out of the championship. 9th is John Wells on 137, tied with the BMW we were following earlier of Martin van Rienen, the Dutchman, on 137. I'd also like to stress that Tony Manley is 11th on 136, so he's only a point off getting inside the top 10. But those aren't the only drivers that are here for the last round of the season. Let's go through all of them who are here. Tony Sokolov, after the first flying effort, the Croatian, top at the moment on a 42.6. Then it's our reigning champion and reigning Tokyo Drift champion Steve Hall in second. Rover Rakatamanga showing this qualifying form again. He's in third place. Stuart Packham, one of the championship protagonists, is fourth. Then it's Michael van der Waal in fifth place. Simon Whiting in sixth position. Tom Creed is seventh, with John Wells in 8th position. Martin van Rienen is 9th, with Adam Peckman in 10th. Tony Manley is 11th, with Dennis Penders 12th. Rich Jarram is 13th, and probably having buff arms, considering he was saying earlier that his feedback is giving him a few issues around here, so I'm sure he'll appreciate the workout tonight. We also have another driver that's just set a lap time. That's Danny Zoutenbayer, so Danny Zoutenbayer up to 8th place. And then there's a few more drivers who are putting laps in. I think that was Tom Creed who just went up to 8th place. Yeah, it was. Miroslav Grasic is 16th. We've got Mark Chapman, we've got Ross Harris, we've got Daniel Danu, we've got Joe Horner, we've got Scott Clark, we have the 21 drivers, and Jordan Hardin, who we haven't covered, who's just set a lap time. He is in 5th position in the Mustang. Let's try and get on board with one of our drivers. Looks like Stuart Packham's actually going on to a flying lap, so he's actually not. Right, apologies, I'm looking at the track map the wrong way around. Steve Hall's facing the wrong way. Martin van Rienen is going on to a lap, so let's see if there he is. So let's go on board with a lap of this brilliant circuit, this 2.814 mile track. We're coming up to effectively not turn 1, even though it is a slight corner. This will be turn 1 here. On the brakes at about 100 metres. The marker board on the right hand side runs a little bit wide at turn 1, but shouldn't affect his lap time too much. Turn 2 completely flat for the BMW, but he's got to get his line right for what is turn number 4. Clips the curb really nicely, runs over the exit curb, uses all of the tarmac and a bit more. Approaching turn 5, got a spotty braking zone here, or in Van Rienen's case, just lifting off is preferable for the BMW, but that's going to maybe invalidate his lap time. Down through the gears, then into second for the left-hander at turn number 6. Again, using all of that runoff. Then it's a tricky braking zone again. You've got to feather the throttle through 7 and then through 8. But this is nicely done so far from Van Rienen. Up the hill then towards turn 9. This one's a very difficult braking zone. Blind at the top. First gear for the BMW. All the power down on the exit of turn 10. Now the car's going to pick up a lot more momentum down here due to the decline down the road. It's completely flat for the BMW at 11, but then he's going to again spot his braking zone at turn 12. Runs very deep, and that will cost him a couple of tenths. Turn 13, little right-hander that we come through here. That's very wide, and he's going to pull it off to the side of the racetrack. Well, we didn't get a full lap, unfortunately. But one driver who has had a full flying lap, and a dozen of them so far. I say a dozen of them, a third of a dozen of them. Sokolov, he is currently on a 141.930. That's faster than the official GT3 record around this circuit, which was set in 2020 by Matt Campbell in a Porsche 911. He did a 142.021. So Sokolov already showing the way to go in terms of the runoff area. He gets right out of the way. I think it was Steve Hall who's coming up to him. Mark Chapman, you'd expect a little bit higher from him. He's still got 10 minutes to go in the session, and he goes P3. That's more like it from Chappers in the 296 GT3 Ferrari. Steve Hall, he's had a couple of slides in qualifying so far. I've seen his car set a few yellow flags out there. But it's important for the drivers to get the mistakes out of the way now because, like I said before, this is a 2-hour race tonight. So it's about pacing yourself. As Steve Hall runs over the white line there on the exit of the penultimate corner, round the final corner, this hairpin at turn 14, and onto the start, finish straight he goes. But as I was saying, it's all about pacing yourself this evening, and the drivers are really going to have to do that. You know, they're going to have to plan their tyre strategies as well. And let's not forget, for those that are unaware, this is your first time watching on ACC Race Nation, just so you know that it's a 2-hour race. But it's a day-night cycle as well. So we'll be starting at daytime like we are at the moment. And the race will start off, as I said, at daytime. And the race will conduct itself overnight. So the characteristics of the cars will change through the night. And it's important for the drivers to be aware of that. Got to be conscious of the limitations of the cars that they might have during the daytime and during the night time due to the temperature changes. And of course the atmospheric pressure changes over night time too. So that can affect the drivers around this Kyalami circuit. I too have to pace myself. I am on my own in the commentary box for 2 hours. But the drivers have got I think a much rougher time of it than I have. Let's put it that way. Oh, we've been following Steve Hall. There's Danny Zoutenbayer in 13th place. Rover Rakatamanga, he's sat in P3 at the moment. His qualifying efforts have been quite strong in the last few rounds. Frenchman has really been driving strongly. I'd love to see him be able to translate that into even more competitive race pace, because he's had, like I say, he's had some very strong results as the Frenchman. You know, he had a 4th place at round 4. He was 5th at Spa. He'd qualified in the top 5 that race as well. So last few rounds when he's been on it, he's been really quick. He was 8th last week as well. So can the Frenchman push even harder? And can he find a way onto the podium? It would be his first podium in ACC Race Nation. Like I say, he's come close a couple of times. But let's see how he gets on. A little bit of a slide as he flicked the car through turn number 4 there. Miroslav Grasic, he's another one who's improved as the season's gone on. The Bosnian has been really improving his overall speed. I've been quite quietly impressed with him. He's got a slightly different livery this evening. He runs wide out of turn 4, which is a very difficult corner to get right, actually. It's kind of awkward for the drivers. But last 2 races, you know, he was 7th last week, was Rover, was Miroslav. He did a good job there. He was 9th the week before when we were racing at Suzuka, so 7th at the Red Bull Ring, 9th at Suzuka, you know, 2 top 10 results, which is the first time that he's had that all season outside of round 1 at Zolder, which was a little bit fortuitous, that race for him. So sitting in 6th at the moment. Someone has just left the lobby with 6 minutes to go, actually. Now we've got no Kosic here tonight by the looks of things. And no Daniel Tanu either by the looks of it. So Stuart Packham, yeah, it's Tony Sokolov who is in 2nd. I'm just trying to work out who has disconnected. Scott Clark's still here. It might have been, well, Ross Harris has just rejoined. I'm not sure about that. But in any case, when it comes to the championship, you know, sadly, we don't have Kosic here. We don't have Danu here either, the Spaniard and the Swede. So it really comes down to Packham just making sure he doesn't crack it into the wall. Because if he were to crash out, Jordan Harding would only need 21 points So effectively, a result in the top 7 would give Jordan the championship. So, yeah, Packham has to make sure that he gets a race. He just has to finish tonight, does Stewart? Because currently, even if he were to finish in 20th place, he'd still pick up at least 10 points for that. So, a race finish will give Packham the championship. But as he feather dusters his way across the right-hander there on the exit of turn number 8. Let's just go through our timings pages. So it is Packham leading the way by 200ths of a second from Sokolov. Then it's Mark Chapman in 3rd place. Rover Rakatamanga is 4th. On his own in terms of the timing screens, he's 6 tenths down, but the front 3 are in a world of their own. Simon Whiting, the last driver, within a second. Then it's Miroslav Grasic, it's Danny Zoutenbayer, Steve Hall, Michael van der Waal and Jordan Harding round out the top 10. But look how close it is between 5th and 10th. There's less, well, 2.5 tenths between those 6 drivers. Then it's Tom Creed in the second of the Mustangs. It's Tony Manley. John Wells is the last driver within 2 seconds of the pole sitter. After that, it's Eden Peckman, Martin Van Reening, Rich Jarram, Dennis Penders, Scott Clark, Ross Harris, who's now back out on track in that Lamborghini. Can Ross Harris, ladies and gentlemen, have a race this evening where he doesn't have an incident caused by somebody else? That would be fabulous for him. Oh, and Daniel Danu has got back in. Okay, I was going to say before, I was curious to see where he disappeared off to. But he is still here, so Stuart Packham will still have a fight on his hands, and he's also changed his livery this evening, has Danny? The Spaniard has gone for a aqua blue and white. Striking livery that on Danu's car. It's quite nice actually compared to the matte green he normally runs. And Joe Warner still yet to set a lap time in his... Well, he always drives a pink and green McLaren, but I've never actually given him a livery. Ah, of course, that's what I could call him. So there is Joe Warner in the Joker car. As in from the Batman series, not as in a pack of cards, ladies and gentlemen. But we've got a long way to go. Not in this qualifying session, no, we've not got a long way to go there. We've got 2 minutes and 30 seconds remaining. Can anyone put the pressure on our championship leader? Just following Miroslav Grasic at the moment. I wanted to watch him actually in terms of see how he's getting on around this circuit. It's certainly not an easy track, Kyalami. It's one that does promote opportunities, as I said earlier, for overtakes and mistakes. So it certainly won't be a straightforward one for anybody. If you are watching, please do comment on the stream. Let us know who you think is not only going to be the champion, but do let us know what you think of who's going to win this 2-hour race today. Let's go back. Oh, Miroslav Grasic loses it on the exit of turn 4. And that corner has caught a few drivers out. And that's it for his qualifying. So he won't start any higher than 8th place. As Dennis Penders cuts across the exit of the pit lane there. I'm sure the stewards will help to have a word with him about that. 1 minute 10 to go in qualifying, but the top 2 are done for the session. They aren't going any faster, and nor is Mark Chapman, and Simon Whiting has also elected to come in. So the top 4 have maximised their efforts. Danny Zoutenbayer is up to 5th, so it's all changed since we momentarily had a pause. But 7 drivers now within a second of the pole sitter. Zoutenbayer is just working his way through turn 8 currently up to the top of the hill. This really difficult blind braking zone at turn 9. Big curb on the inside. Can't use too much of it because the car can skate out underneath. Rakatamanga's just gone a little bit quicker on that lap, and that's it. He's done. He's pulling over. He's got nothing left in that car. Rich Jarram is coming up behind Joe Warner. That's not ideal. They're probably both on a lap, so the Ford will want to get past Froggles. Across the line they both go. No improvements there. Michael van der Waal did improve. He went up to 9th. And we are at the end of the session. So this is it now for qualifying. Martin van Reenen, he moves up to 15th place. So that's a better spot for him. Zoutenbayer has gone into the pit. So the next driver will be Steve Hall. The Ferrari 296 GT3. Can he make any improvements? Can he get within a second? No is the answer. He stays in 10th place. The closest driver to Stuart Packham, Daniel Danu, the Spaniard in the McLaren. Can he take the fight up to the front? No is the answer on that one. So Danu will start on the 4th row at best. Scott Clark, next driver to come across the start-finish line, doesn't make any improvements. Tony Manley doesn't either. So that is our qualifying session then. What a session we had there. But it's our championship leader, Stuart Packham, who has pole position by less than half a hundredth of a second from Tony Sokolov. 3rd place goes the way of Mark Chapman, and lining up on row 2 with him will be Simon Whiting. Danny Zoutenbayer is on row 3 with Rover Rakatabanga. And then there's a bit of a gap back to Daniel Danu in 7th place. Miroslav Grasic will start in 8th, and then on row 5 we have Michael van der Waal and Steve Hall. Outside the top 10, the 2 Fords of Tom Creed and Jordan Harding. Jordan Harding saying that he was 7/10 up on the last lap, but then ran wide and invalidated his lap. So is there more speed to come from the Ford drivers? Row 7 is the Italian of Tony Manley and John Wells. 15th and 16th we've got Martin van Reenen, who is the last driver within 2 seconds of our pole sitter Eden Peckman. The Croatian is 16th. Ross Harris will start in 17th. Lining up on row 9 with him will be Rich Jarram, and then in the top 20 we have Dennis Penders and Scott Clark. Joe Warner in the Joker car will have his own Joker row. On row 11 he'll be by himself in 21st place. But I have a sneaking suspicion that Joe hasn't really had the opportunity to do a competitive lap time there. He's quite some way off. Scott Clark, I think, as well, might have had a few issues too. Scott Clark's another driver who I'd love to be able to say he's not had any issues in the race. So there we are. Session about to get underway at dusk here in South Africa. Here in the southern hemisphere of our planet Earth, the drivers are less than 90 seconds away from the final round of the season. There's a lot to play for this evening. There are positions still to be decided. Getting a spot inside the top 10, getting a spot in the top 5, and even as well getting a space in the top 20. Eden Peckman can still do that to his credit. We are missing a number of drivers, unfortunately, this evening who have been racing with us in the last few rounds. We haven't seen a couple of drivers in the form of, Richard Gearman isn't here tonight. Linus Littrix isn't here, unfortunately. Ardy van Sloot.
30 seconds.
Neil Wright in the Porsche, he isn't here this evening, unfortunately.
20 seconds.
Nicola Gradan is another one. And of course our driver in the second place in the standings,
10 seconds.
Josip Kosic, also isn't here. Let's cut our car to the front of the pack. We've got our formation lap coming up. And the drivers will be sent on their way. There we go. No issues for Packham, it looks like, as he gets himself underway, as he leads the formation lap. And Stewart's got a glorious opportunity. Even, you know, if he doesn't win the race this evening, you know, his main protagonist in the championship, Danu, is down in 7th place. There's a number of drivers, 5 of which, who are between him and the Spaniard. And even still, if Danu wins this race and gets 31 points, Stewart only has to make sure that he gets 21, and that would be enough. If you don't know how the championship points works, it's pretty straightforward. It's 31 for first place, second gets 29, then it's 28, 27, 26 in a sliding scale all the way down. So, you know, if Stewart finishes in 9th place, that would be the championship crown for him. Actually, rather, if he finishes in 10th place, he will definitely take the championship crown. So Stewart just has to manage the situation, and he will be coming home with the Season 9 GT3 ACC Race Nation Trophy. But we've still got 2 hours in front of us, ladies and gentlemen. Still a long, long way to go, and even this formation lap does take quite a bit of time. Let's just have a look at where the drivers are in the mid-pack. Just want to look at where Tom Creed is. You know, you can see the challenges that the drivers are going to face in this mid-section of the course. Coming up to this blind braking zone, I'm going to be keeping an eye out here as we approach the blind turn 9, because the drivers can't see. You can clearly see from on board with Tom Creed. You can't see really where the line is. And if someone goes offline, it could be very easy for another driver to follow them offline and end up going off the road. And there is no real runoff there. As you can see, it's just a little bit of grass and then a brick wall. So, well, a tyre stack. So drivers are going to have their wits about them. And I do expect there to be a few incidents this evening. Mainly from the driver's own volitions, to be honest. Simon Whiting just getting himself into position. He needs to go past Danny's out and by and get alongside the Ferrari. There he is. The 720S is in position. There's Danu. What can he do in his new livery for this evening? Oh, it's all getting a little bit messy there between the drivers. I'm trying to pick up our race leader. There he is. So Stuart Packham will lead them around for the final formation lap of the season here in 2025. The line is coming up for the drivers. The cars are coming round the final corner in terms of the tail enders. They're all on the straight now. This is it. And the race is live here at as I was saying, the race is live here at Kyalami, and Sokolov's going to go all the way around the outside. Packham taking a very slow line. He's got Whiting on the inside here. A little bit of contact between him. Sokolov's going to get overtaken by Simon Whiting, and Packham's going backwards. Danny Zoutenbayer up to 3rd. What a start. As the time and order does its own little weird thing that we don't know what it's doing. But Simon Whiting, great start for him. It looked like everyone was just a little bit cautious. We've got 2 cars who are a little bit further back. Ross Harris is one of them. I do hope he's not been involved in any incidents again. And the other one is Eden Peckman. So our pole sitter going backwards at the start. But other than those 2 being a little bit further back, it doesn't look like there's many issues out there. Jordan Harding fighting with Steve Hall as we come into the turn 9, turn 10. I said I was watching for the drivers around there, but of course there's Steve Hall getting back up the inside of Jordan. Now he's going to be on the inside for turn 11. You can go flat through here. So it's 2 by 2 into what will now become turn number 12. Jordan's on the inside line compared to Steve. But Steve's going to hang it all the way around the outside. This is good racing between the two. Oh, they just have a little door rub between them. Turn 13. Jordan's going to go wide. Is he in the wall? No, he's got away with it. Tom Creed goes past him. Looks like Martin Van Reenen's diving up the inside as well. I'm going to try and get the external camera at the back. There we go. Well, it's all starting here at Kyalami. Lap 1 down. Let's go on to the pit wall. We've got Simon Whiting leading the way. Great start. Tony Sokolov second. Stuart Packham has got past Danny Zoutenbayer into turn 1. But Zout is all over the rear spoiler of that BMW. The Ferraris and the McLaren seem to really be fired up at the moment. Steve Hall running wide on the exit of turn 4. Let's just get a better camera angle so we can watch it from here. So there's Zoutenbayer, there's Rover Rakatamanga, Chapman right there too. Danu also a lot closer than what the split sectors suggest. So these guys are just staying all together. It's Miroslav Grasic, it's Michael van der Waal, Steve Hall, Tom Creed and Jordan Harding. Tony Manley there in 13th place. Joe Warner getting overtaken by Scott Clark. A collector's item for everybody to see Clarkey going around the outside of somebody. Packman going to look to go through as well. And he does break a little bit later. So the Croatian back up into the top 20. And Ross Harris is through as well. So these guys just a little bit off the back of the main group. But there's not any harm done. Sokolov goes wide. So does Packham. Everyone's really struggling with the penultimate corner, as is Mark Chapman. And we joined live then as he did that. He bumped the wall. He's back on circuit. That's Michael van der Waal running wide. He can't get through. And here comes Steve Hull. They're going to be 3 wide down the main straight. Van der Waal's going to have better momentum compared to the other 2 drivers. Steve Hall giving it a wide berth. But Van der Waal moves up into 8th place. And I think Hall is going to do the same. And that is the case. Yeah, so Steve Hall moves back. He lost the place in the end. Oh, here goes Hall up the inside of Van der Waal. Can he make that move stick? It's very tight. He's going to be on the outside for turn 5. This is going to be brave stuff. Oh, a little bit of contact between the two. Please keep it in a straight line, gentlemen. They just about do. But Hall is going to go around the outside and be on the inside for turn 6. And that is a move complete from our reigning champion. And he just blocks any sniff of a chance for the Dutchman to go through. But then Steve Hall has a wobble. And that's just bringing this group so close together. Tom Creed's in here as well. He's looking to the outside at turn 9. Chappers. Oh, that's Tony Manley throwing a move up the inside. The Aston Martin. Lovely bit of opportunistic driving. And he goes through. And the sun is just starting to set a little bit more now. So you can see the headlights being a little bit more effective than what they were at the start. This is really frenetic action. John Wells in the mix too. In fact, everybody back to Rich Jarrah is right involved in this fight. So it's a 10-car fight effectively for 8th place. Still a long way to go. And the front 2 are pulling away. Sokolov 1.7 clear of Stuart Packham. Let's see if we can get some let's get on some onboard cameras, shall we? I think we will go with this one. And we'll just cut back. Van der Waal, there's Mark Chapman. So recovering from his bump into the wall, he looks like he's got away with it. He'll have some damage, of course, but I think he will have gotten away with that. See what his pit stop's like later on. Tony Manley really on form in these opening couple of minutes. I say opening couple of minutes, it's only 6 minutes down in the race so far. An hour and 46 seconds remaining. These guys all together. John Wells has slipped backwards behind Rich. I say he had slipped back behind Rich Jaron, but they've swapped places again. Really difficult to stay on top of all the action here. There's Danny Zoutenbayer looking for another podium. And Rover Rakatamanga now 3 seconds off the back. He's been joined by Danu and Grasic. Adam Peckman following Dennis Penders, and Ross Harris isn't too far away either. So these guys coming up to the back of that group now. That 10-car train. Scott Clark's been in the wall. Peckman's got some damage as well. But still the fight for, well, what is becoming 9th place now, because Steve Hall has pulled away from Van der Waal, is heating up here. We've got 5 drivers trying to get inside the top 10. There's only 2 spaces available for them. Manley looking, that Aston Martin looking very quick around Kyalami today. But how will that car react under the nighttime skies? It will be getting cooler. Tom Creed lurking in that Mustang. He's got a very good line through there, and that's going to be the Mustang. One of them definitely through. Jordan Harding looking to try and slip through, but not going to get through there at turn 5. That's a little bit bumpy for the Italian. He goes off the road, and that's 2 Ford Mustangs overtaking him. And Tony Manley, after me praising him, drops behind Jordan Harding. Now, so far, it's been an excellent opening to this race at the moment. There's John Wells in 15th. Michael van der Waal still has Mark Chapman behind him. He's still trying to recover. There's Danu as well. He's half a second behind the Frenchman now. Oh, he runs a little bit wide though on the exit of turn number 12. Not ideal. But realistically, no harm done for him. So, a Spaniard at the moment just settling down into this race. Simon Whiting isn't settling down because he's got Sokolov, the Croatian, right behind him into turn 1. And Simon Whiting, you know, I've said it a few times this season as he runs a touch wide there. Let's ride on board with him from the rear view camera. Nice line that from McLaren actually, and that just saves him a little bit of time. And that'll benefit him down this run towards turn number 5. But what I was saying about Simon Whiting is that he is a great driver. You know, he's not a slow driver at all. He's sadly missed 3 races this season, so he's not really factored in the championship fight, but he is more than capable of winning a race in ACC Race Nation. He's just missed out on a couple of occasions. You know, at the first round of the season he finished in 3rd place, 4th place I should say. Silverstone he was 3rd, you know, and he was 3rd at round 8 as well. So it's not as if, you know, when he was driving at Suzuka, it's certainly not as if he can't get a race victory. But when you've got Sokolov and Packham and Zoutenbayer behind you, that's easier said than done. Joe Warner's in the pits, so we've got our first pitter so far in this race, and I wonder if he's had a bit of damage actually, because he looks a little bit further down. Ross Harris, I wanted to check Ross because he went round earlier on. He's lost a bit of time actually, so I wonder if he's gone off the road. But oh, Joe Warner's just picked up a drive-through penalty for speed lane violations, pit lane violations for a speed limiter. Yeah, it doesn't look as if Ross has got any damage, so I don't know what's happened to him. He is carrying on, but this guy has had no luck at all in this championship, and I'm sure he's looking forward to the season being finished and going again next season. Tom Creed is in the top 10. Those 3 of the Fords and the Aston Martin still all together. They've still got Van der Waal in front, but the gap has blown out to Steve Hall. That is 3.5 seconds to the car in front. The Ferrari number 5 is really putting his foot down as Tom Creed runs wide again out of turn 4. As I said before, this is not an easy track. It really is a challenge Rich Jarin putting in his best shift so far. He's in the top 15. A little bit on his own, but for the time being, he won't mind if he were to finish there. As Packham runs deep into turn number 9, out of turn 10, you can see that Zoutenbayer looking all over the back of the rear wing of this BMW. But as I keep saying, and I will keep reiterating this, there's still an hour and 48 minutes to go. A little bit of a kick of oversteer for the M4 there, but still an hour and 48 minutes to go. Plenty of time left. Simon Whiting now defending from Tony Sokolov. Ooh, that looked like a move there. Yeah, Jordan Hardin's gone off the road somewhere. He's gone off the road again. He's been overtaken by Rich Jaram, so something has happened. But Jordan has damage to the back of his car. Jaram runs wide. Can the Mustang go around the outside of his fellow Ford stablemate? He can. And whilst that was going on, race leader has changed around. Sokolov has got the place. He's got past Simon Whiting. And you can see the other two have closed up now as well. So this is a 4-car fight for the race lead. The last 2-hour race we did back at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, it was won by Sokolov. So he knows how to pace himself through an endurance race. And Joe Warner needs to serve his stop and go penalty, otherwise he's going to get disqualified. But these four all together, you can see the Frenchman of Rover Rakatamanga just in the background. He's looking at that gap, 3.5 seconds back at the moment. Danu another 2 seconds further behind the leading quartet. There is Joe Warner. Ross Harris now finds himself back with the pack again. So, despite his difficult start, the Brit is back up with the rest of the group. And that's Scott Clark round at the exit of turn 4. Oh, that's Scott! That is the Mustang of Rich Jaram into the wall. Fortunately, he's not collided with anybody, but that mistake has just put Ross offline a little bit. It's distracted him. If we cut to the wide shot, there is the Italian of Tony Manley capitalising on that little mistake from the Lamborghini Huracan. But Harris brakes a little bit later. He's going to try and do the switch. He actually ran too deep, and Tony Manley moves back into 14th place. And the mistakes are happening now, ladies and gentlemen. So sadly for Rich Jaram, I was praising him before. He was in the top 15. He isn't. He's in the wall and now in the pits. Tom Creed has remained... Oh, that's Scott Clark off the road. There we go. I did say that before. He did cause a yellow flag. He's back on track now. But Tom Creed, right on the back of the Dutchman in front of him. And nighttime skies are falling here at Kyalami. You can see the shift in the light. Jaram's in the pits. Jordan Hardin's got John Wells just behind him. Speaking of being just behind him, Stuart Packham just behind Simon Whiting. And Sokolov is now pulling away a little bit. 1 second the gap between himself and the McLaren. 3 different manufacturers represented in the top 3.